Okay, I want to demonstrate a method I've used to recreate trestle bents. If you need to make a bunch of them, I need to make a few dozen for an elevated track I've got, and I want them all to be the same height. Although it wouldn't matter if they were different heights, like in a canyon situation, you could still use a similar jig. But this is the end product I'm going for, and I need to repeat it. So first, before I started, I drew up the trestle that I want according to the exact scale. I'm O scale, but that wouldn't really matter for this jig. And then drew that, transposed it or drew it onto this masonite. You can see, hopefully, the lines, one for each vertical post, one for the top cap, and a couple pairs of lines for what are called sills, or the horizontal supports, braces. Then I took some scrap wood, hardwood, made sure it was in perfectly square, and glued it in to the masonite right up next to the lines of each of these, where these posts would go. And what that does is, when I put a post in, it's a repeatable location. It's perfectly straight, and then I don't have to eyeball things from that point on. So I also use a piece of glossy paper that I found in my photography material, but a piece of wax paper would probably work too. And I put that down here for a reason you'll see in a minute. But these alignment guides I spaced so that there's at least two on one side and one on the opposing side, so that it has a tight fit. Down here sometimes I used two, but probably didn't really need to. Okay, so I take a top cap after I have pre-cut and pre-stained all the pieces and parts that I need. I take a top cap, place it here, and I have lines here and here on the board also, so I can get it in the right position. Then I can take one of these center rails, posts with a perpendicular cut at the top, put a drop of CA glue or super glue on there, and push it right in. And that's what this paper's for, so any glue from these joints at the cap don't leak and make the bent stick to the masonite. Take one of my inner posts, and the difference between these is the cut at the top of these is at a bit of an angle because the post is angled like this, and I want that to have a flush and firm contact there. These outer ones are cut at a little different angle, again, because it's a steeper angle from center. So put a spot of glue on each of these before I put them in, and you can fit them right inside the guides, alignment guides, and they'll fit just right. Okay, so once those are in, I put a drop of glue on each post right where the sills are going to go, and then I can take a piece and lay it down right on top of the posts. I can eyeball the overhang on each side, and then these guides are so that I can push it up against them, and I know it's perfectly square and straight every time, for the lower one and for the upper one. Lay that down on the spots of glue and hold it in place. Now, with these all glued in place, I can take diagonal supports that I've pre-cut so the angles fit just where I want them to, like that, and I temporarily put them in place, and one longer one here has a different angle cut because it's wider, longer. But then I take a fine point Sharpie and hold it in place, and I can just draw a line underneath each, or on the post underneath the diagonal support. No one will ever see this line because of the support will be in the way. So then I know where I can put the spots of glue right above those lines, and then put them in place. Hold them down briefly, and then I've got the first side done. These are glued in place. Then I take this to my miter saw and cut right along this edge. So there, I know they're all the exact same height, and the bottom of each post, even though they're at an angle, is going to be flush with the ground. When I first made the jig, I made the masonite longer along with these alignment guides, so they stuck out a little further, but I drew a line first on where I wanted the final height to be. And the very first time I cut along there, I not only cut the first bent that I made, but I made this edge for all future cuts. Once it has been cut along the bottom edge, I can just pry it out from the top. Then I can flip it over and I complete it without a jig, because I can align the next horizontal piece on the other side with the one that I see there. Same here, and then glue on the diagonal supports as well. And then we're done, and this is what it would look like.